reserved seats for women's campaign and TOS Foundation. Please let's give her a warm round of applause as she steps forward this afternoon. We can do better, we can do better. Let's have some parity and applause as well. I want everybody to be well represented with their applause this afternoon. Thank you very much. So I'm going to hand over to her to invite the panelists for the plenary this afternoon. Over to you now, Dr. Adora.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Permit me to sit on the existing protocol. As earlier mentioned, this panel will be looking at parity in power, advancing women's leadership for national transformation, and really an interesting conversation about the reserved seats for women's bill. Permit me to welcome to the stage my panelists. I have with us Chief Mrs. Osazu Ibinidion Osazu Ibinidion Okuche, CEO TOS Group. Please, a round of applause as she comes to the stage. She is the convener for the Reserved Seats for Women's Bill Campaign Coalition. I would also like to welcome to the panel Dr. Chidozie Aja. He's the Special Advisor Legislative to the Deputy Speaker, Right Honorable Benjamin Okezekalo, CFR. I'd also like to welcome, delightfully, Dr. Bulki Shonibare, Executive Director, Invictus Africa, to the panel. And just as she's clapping for others, I would like you to put a round of applause for her as well. Ms. Ebi Timi Alaibe Lezianya, South-South Zonal Coordinator, to the panel. She's also the founder, I Teach Africa Initiative, and founder, ISIN Group of Schools. Thank you so much. Great. At least we have one man on our panel, so we're quite inclusive. Thank you so much. So really, just to give you a background of what this conversation is about, and I'm sure you've been following conversations that Nigeria is ranked absolutely among the lowest in Africa when it comes to women's political representation, despite women constituting about half of the entire population and including the currency of the voters' registration. And in the national legislature, we just have about 4% of seats in the House of Reps and 4% in the Senate, which are just held by women. And so what we are here to discuss is to explore the bill, the legislative trajectory of that bill, the reserved seats for women's bill, the challenges, the opportunities it faces, and its potential impact on Nigeria's democracy, governance, and development. And so we will definitely be starting in earnest. I have 45 minutes for this panel, and I'll be giving you 5 minutes each to start your opening conversation. And then we will go to the audience for 10 minutes for question and answer and come back for your summaries before I thank you. So I would want to start with you, Chief Osazu. You've been doing quite tremendous work in terms of the campaign for the reserved seats for women's bill. There has been quite a momentum. How can this bill, first of all, be explained? You know, what are the basic contexture of this bill for the sake of those who are in this room to understand what it is about?
Thank you. Is this on? Hello? Okay. Thank you so much, Adora, and good afternoon, everyone. As Adora said, my name is Chief Mrs. Osasu Igbenedion Oguche. I am the CEO of TOS Group of Companies. My organization, TOS Foundation, is one of the many organizations advocating for the passage of the Reserved Seats for Women's Bill. What is the Reserved Seats for Women's Bill, aka HB 1349 and SB 440? It basically seeks to add additional seats in the national and state houses of assemblies for women only to contest. As most of you may know, in the House of Representatives, there are 360 seats, and this bill seeks to add 37 seats to that for women only to contest. That's representative of 1 seat per state and the FCT. And it's the same thing in the Senate. 109 seats currently exist in the Senate. We're looking to add 37 additional seats to that, representative of 1 seat per state for women only to contest. Then across the 36 state assemblies, we're looking to add 3 additional seats per the 36 states, bringing it up to a total of 108 reserved seats. Why is this important? Is it tokenism? The answer is no, it's not tokenism. Nigeria actually ranks the lowest across Africa in terms of female representation in parliament. Imagine us calling ourselves the giants of Africa, yet we have less than 4% representation of women in Nigeria's federal parliament. Across the 993 state, members of the state assemblies, only 51 are women. In the Senate, only 14 out of 360 members are women. Sorry, in the House of Representatives, 14 out of 360 members are women. In the Senate, only 4 out of 109 members are women. So this is not representative of the people we claim to be. So more has to be done to shore up those numbers. I think I'll put a pin in it for now and look forward to the rest of the conversation.
All right. I would come to you next, Dr. Aja. Are there insights, really, from the 2022 Constitutional Amendment Circle that Nigeria can perhaps learn from and use to inform efforts to achieve a successful passage of the Reserved Seats Bill for Women? Because we know that there were the 5 gender bills that were ab initio led by Nigerian women, and that did not pass. So what are the lessons to be learned from that trajectory, and where do we place them now in this current conversation?
Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. In the Ninth Assembly, we learned a great deal of lessons on the shortfall, on the reasons why the bills, the 5 gender bills, could not scale through. And more importantly, the reserved seat bill. Then, in the Ninth Assembly, advocacy was low. Parliamentarians did not get enough information on the intendment of the bill. The bill was grossly misunderstood by voting parliamentarians. That was on the one side. On the second hand also, parliamentarians felt that they were being boxed into a corner, being compelled to do what they did not understand. Now, the language of advocacy at that time was a bit more forceful. It did not attempt to appeal to the conscience of legislators. And for that reason, there was so much resistance. I recall, on that day of voting in 2022, apparently women blocked the National Assembly, all entrances. And it was like, it's either you do this or something else happens. So they resisted. But this time around, the focus is different. Advocacy has been heightened, the message has been well structured, and parliamentarians are getting to understand the bill better. They are getting to understand the intent better. They are getting to understand the benefits of this kind of reforms better. Not only that the language is better structured now, but also the approach is somewhat better than what you had before. Parliamentarians are not being compelled, but they are being appealed to. Right? And with that, there is increase in the number of parliamentarians that are interested in the progress of this bill. Having said so, I want to speak further on the process and where we are at the moment. The bill has gone through the first reading, second reading, referred to the Committee on Constitutional Review, and then subjected to public hearing across the 6 geopolitical zones. Now, what is left to be done is the national public hearing on the bill, which will happen on the 22nd of this September. Thereafter, the report of the consultants, the technical consultants, will be presented to the committees of both the Senate and the House. These committees will sit, consider, harmonize, vote, adopt clauses of the bill. And then that brings about the final report of the bill, which will be laid at plenary. Then, for 2/3 votes of the number of members of each parliament. It is not the 2/3 votes of those sitting in the hall on the day of voting, but it is the 2/3 of number of seats. That is to say, if any constitutional alteration measure will pass, there must be in the House minimum of 240 votes to get it passed. In the Senate, a minimum of 73 votes to get the same measure passed. Therefore, before us as of today is, what do we do to ensure we are able to gather these votes in both chambers, in the Senate and in the House of Representatives? And to gather these votes, this advocacy effort must improve. And in improving it, we must have to use influencers, the traditional institution, the religious institution, then the people, to add pressure, to appeal, to sustain the appeal, to sustain the advocacy until that day. Politics is so dynamic. You might have a week to the day, 270 persons accepting to vote in support of the bill.
All right. Doctor, not to cut you short, I just need to speak to Dr. Buki so that we can manage time. I've just been told we have only 20 minutes for this session so that I can actually make sure that we touch points on all the conversation. Dr. Buki Shanibara, you're the Executive Director for Invictus Africa, and one of the most profound advocacy interventions is that you always lean on data and have spoken to data as an important source for sustaining advocacy. Now, the reserve seats for women's bill, you know, it's frontlining this through the campaign that has been led by Chief Osazu, your voice as yourself. How important is this for impact at the moment?
Thank you. I like the way you framed that question, you know, the importance of these different voices for the kind of results that we wanted. Let me remind all of us that it was on March 1st, 2022, that the reserve seats bill, among other gender bills, was actually thrown out. And I'm glad that you answered the question before I came up, because you're able to identify some of the challenges that we had then. And it is in those challenges that we will find the importance of all of these voices. But the voices that we are talking about is not just the voices of advocates like me or some of us on this, or all of us on this seat, but it is the voices of everyone in this room. So that means that in the utilization of our voices, we must address the challenges that he had talked about. So first, in 2022, one challenge that we got was that there was low understanding of the bill. And beyond the reserve seat bill, even laws that have been passed, data continues to show that even though we have laws, many people are not aware of those laws. Invictus Africa, for instance, conducted a survey on the implementation of the Violence Against Persons Prohibitions Act. And we found that 50.7% Nigerians are not aware that that law exists. Among the 40-something% that were aware, much more say that they don't know the content of the law. So, and I think that is where the voices of everyone come in. And so I want to pose a question. In this room, do you know what the reserve seat bill is about? Do you know what it says? Let me see your hand. That is like maybe 2%. Okay, it's going to 3%. Do you know the reserve seat bill? Do you know the content of the reserve seat bill? Okay, let's do yes or no. Do you know the reserve seat bill? Yes or no?
Yes.
Do you know the reserve seat bill?
Yes.
Do you know the content of the reserve seat bill? Yes. For those who know the content, how well do you know the content? Do you know it well or not well? Not well. And herein lies the gap. Because how do we advocate for something that we don't know? So the first point of call, and that is the challenge that I'm throwing to everyone here, the reserve seat bill is online. You can download it. The HB 1349,
yes,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
And the SB 440. They are both online. Go and search for it. And what you are looking for is what this bill seeks to achieve. For everyone who comes for Gender and Inclusion Summit, it means that you are interested in gender and you are interested in inclusion. And one way for you to show that you are indeed interested is to go and read the bills and the laws that impact on gender and inclusion. So I'm giving us an assignment. Once we finish from here, go online, download the reserve seat bill, and look at what it seeks. It seeks to make amendments to key provisions of the Constitution so that we can have reserved or special seats for women. Only women will contest for those seats. Only women will hold those seats. The reserve seat bill is a temporary special measure. What that means is that it's not a permanent bill. Otherwise, we are going to achieve inequality after some time, where we have underrepresentation of men. So it's a reserved seat bill that is a temporary special measure. And by the bill, it is only going to last for 16 years, 4 election cycles. It means after 4 election cycles, we go back to the results that we have achieved, and we will see whether the purpose for which this bill was set out in the first place has been achieved. If it has been achieved, the bill will be removed. Indeed. If it has not been achieved, the bill will be renewed. So where will our voices come in? We advocate for the bill, but we can only advocate to the extent that we know.
Absolutely. Please, a round of applause for her for that. That was quite layered through. Thank you so much, Dr. Bulki Shanibare. Now, let me come to AB Timia Laibe-Lezianya. AB is a South-South coordinator for the Reserve Seats for Women's Bill Campaign Coalition, and she was at the center of the public hearing that happened across some of the zones, especially in the South-South zone. And my question to you would be, first of all, I mean, from your experience as a zonal coordinator, being in the field, we've listened to Dr. Aja talk about the 2/3, and he layered it down and what that number really means and signifies. How do we then move from public hearing, to real-time advocating for passage? Because that is the next point of call after the national hearing. And your experience in the field, what sort of outcomes did you see that will motivate or demotivate, support to a large extent?
Thank you very much, Dr. Adora. Let me take up from where Dr. Buki stopped. So there's a lot of information out there about the Reserve Seat Bill, a work well done by TOS Group. Being in the South-South and coordinating 125 local government areas, we started off by trickling down to the local government areas. One of the things that Dr. Ada said was, this bill didn't pass in the 8th Assembly, neither did it pass in the 9th, and now we're now bringing it before the 10th Assembly. One of the things that also was lacking there was the awareness, as he has rightfully said. So we needed to take on a new strategy when it came to spreading the word about this reserved seat bill. And that's why we started working not just with the first ladies, but with every commissioner of Women Affairs in the state regions. And so they carried the messages to councillors and then to every region. We just didn't do it alone. We had the traditional rulers. We had the market women. We had student unions. And this was the formation that we used across all states with, of course, the other representatives from other states as well. And this is how we carried it on. So one of the challenges we saw was a language barrier. But it was quickly addressed because we were working with Commissioner of Women Affairs, councillors, and every other person, stakeholders that needed to be worked with. And so quickly, we started translating English to languages. And you can see it across the space, the internet space, that these things have been translated. Another thing that we saw was people not being aware of what the bill actually entailed, which is that it's a reserved seat for women and only women would contest these seats. What they thought was that there were going to be, some people would be unsacked from their seats. And we said, no, this is for only women and only women will contest this seat. It's good you asked because the joy outside is that a lot of women are interested in the reserved seats for women. And we know that this is a corrective bill that will only run for 16 years, and after the 16 years, we will throw it out when we have seen the impact of this bill. So in general, there's more acceptability about what women want, and we're now sure, and we're working together. So there's no disparity about what needs to be done. But for us who are seated here today, I believe that the first place to start is to go to change.org. so that you can begin to vote concerning this bill, the reserved seat for women's bill. We had to make it we had to take it to the Constitution to change it so that everybody, all stakeholders are aware. The parties are aware, INEC is aware, everybody is aware of the bill. So when it comes to time for election, we know that this is what has been rightfully set aside for women. When you go, you can now place your votes. You can also go online and check reserved seat for women and read about it, because this concerns us women and we must take it serious. This now is before the 10th Assembly and it must pass, because Nigeria has gotten to the stage where we need to pass this bill.
I like that word, it must pass. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you. And that's quite a number of local government areas, and that's not a child's play. So I'm going to bring it now back to the audience for questions and feedback from anyone. I mean, Dr. Buki started to ignite that energy earlier on, so I would want to bring it back to the room. So if you do have questions or you have feedback, please just raise your hand where you are, and a microphone will be brought to your seat. Okay, I see one hand on the far right. I see another on the far left. So please, can I have an assistant help me here, please? So I see two hands, one on the left, one on the right. So if we can take the microphone to her on the right. Thank you. Please introduce yourself and then your question. Do we have anyone with the microphone? Yes, thank you so much. Please make your way forward to the second seat on the right, far right. Yes. Please raise your hand again. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the presentation. I am Naomi Benjamin, and to some extent, I feel like we are excluding ourselves to enjoy democracy. For instance, why is there not Federal Ministry of Men's Affairs? It should have been integrated in all sectors, from Federal Ministry of Health, Education, gender should be mainstream. But with the exclusion of Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, all roles have gone to that ministry for them to include women on all other projects. And again, there is a mindset that we women and the youth need to change. We believe that women and youth are populous than the men. In election periods, we see more women in the voting. So what happened? Why are women and youth not supporting their fellow women who are capable to fill up this role? I believe when we have this mindset shift, it will definitely help us. even not just elective, but even selective position, you will see more women occupying spaces. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. Please, a round of applause for her. That was intentional. Far left. This is a hand on the far left. Please, the third row on the far left. Sorry, I have to make you jog all the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Adora. Thank you, panelists. My name is Glory Uzamaka Ohagu. I talk for Voice of Nigeria. Why are you not learning about the bill? Women, you're the majority here. Why are you not learning about the bill? I'm surprised that budget did ask how many people know about the bill, and 3%. If you don't read it, just because they say when you want to hide something from a Nigerian, put it in the book, or an African, you have to read it, you have to know it, you have to advocate it, you have to turn up for the hearing itself. And please, for everyone, especially my coalition geographical representatives, we want feedback. We need to know which legislator is supporting, which legislator is not supporting, because support a woman supports the nation. Leave the woman lose election so that we know what happens as we head into the election cycle. Don't tell me thank you. I'm almost thanking you too. Please, young Nigerian girls, read about the bill. This is your future. My time would be gone. Yours is here. Read about the bill. We need you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that's as much I can take. Our time is definitely up. So quickly, I'm getting a moment from my director here. So let's go through answering the questions as briskly as we can. So Dr. Buki, you wanted to answer the first question on exclusion of men's affairs and the ministry.
Thank you. I think that is one of the things that we women tell ourselves that doesn't work well for us. That how come we have a federal Ministry of Women Affairs, but we don't have federal Ministry of Men's Affairs? Sort of like trying to say that women are special. And in so doing, we are saying to ourselves that we are shortchanging ourselves. If you have a wound on your body, you are not going to apply an ointment to treat that wound on all of your body. You are going to apply it only to where that wound is. And that is why we have Federal Ministry of Women Affairs. Historically, women have been underrepresented. Right. Women come out to vote. So the notion that women and youth don't come out to vote is not completely true. Look at data of voting every time we have election. Women's participation is high. Women's representation is low. So we have Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and not Men's Affairs because men have really had a lot of, opportunities, to social goods. Women have been underrepresented and marginalized. The last thing I will say is to what you said, Ma. The reason why we need to know this bill is that knowledge is power. I will rephrase that. Knowledge empowers. It means that if you don't know about this bill, when you are engaging your state legislators or your representatives, you don't know what you are going to say. So what if they ask you that, don't you think this is tokenism? Don't you think this will increase the cost of governance? What are you going to say? Clark has done analysis of the bill. Clark has said that the increase in governance is just 1%. If you don't know that by reading about the bill and the analysis, you will not be able to counter some of these arguments. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Just in summary, because I've been told to round up, I listened to a question on mindset change. That would be my closing call with you answering that importance of mindset change for this bill to pass. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adora.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Adora. I don't think this is on.
It's on.
It's on? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Adora, and to our distinguished panelists. I think my final thoughts here is a call to action. We have a website called www.reserveseatsforwomen.org. On this website, you can find all the details that you need on the Reserve Seats for Women's bill. We've broken the bill down in this 20 minutes, a little over 20 minutes that we've been discussing this. So you're leaving here with tangible information that you can use to advocate to your lawmakers, your senators, your members of the House of Representatives, to pass the bill when it comes on the floor in October. Remember, the national public hearing is on the 22nd of September. We need everyone to come out in mass to make your voices heard. And in October, we need that pressure on the lawmakers to ensure this bill is passed. And it's very important to state that this bill is not just a women's issue. It's a nation-building imperative. When women get involved in decision-making, when they get involved in legislative process, we see better social amenities,
Absolutely.
better education systems, better healthcare systems. So it's very important that we have more women involved. And in our mindset, we need to understand, when you talk about the barriers that are hindering women from becoming victorious, it's structural, it's religious,
Absolutely.
it's traditional, it's financial. So there are many reasons women are hindered from becoming victorious when they vie for office. So we really need to reshape our mindset in the way we advocate for the passage of this bill. So I expect everyone to go on the website, educate yourselves, and put pressure on your lawmakers to shore up the numbers of women who are participating in decision making.
Thank you so much, and I think that's a great place to wrap this up. I want to say thank you for the contributors and the Questions Act, and of course that charge from Glory, who says, leave the woman, lose elections. But we hope it doesn't get to that. I'm sure that it will be passed. I want to say thank you to my panelists, Chief Mrs. Osasu Igbenedion-Okuche, CEO, TOS Group, and the convener of the Reserved Seats for Women's Bill and the lead advocate, Dr. Chidozie Aja, Special Advisor, Legislative to the Deputy Speaker, Right Honorable Benjamin Okeze-Kalu, CFR, Dr. Buki Shonibare, Executive Director, Invictus Africa, and of course, my co-coordinator, AB Timialaibe Elezianya, the South-South coordinator for the Reserved Seats Bill for Women's Campaign Coalition. Thank you so much for being on this panel. And like I said earlier, this bill means the future of Nigeria. And to lose it out is to lose out on democracy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can we please put our hands together for them? Thank you very much. We're so sorry we couldn't take more questions. We're pressed for time. While they take their group photo right here, we would announce the next. We're going out for another set of breakout sessions. All right. So I just wanted to let everyone know, for those who haven't gotten their meals yet, if the meals don't get to you before you have to leave the hall, just hold on to your meal tickets. They're going to serve you right in your breakout room. All right. So for the next set of breakout sessions, we have one right here in this main hall. From bias to balance, shaping a practical governance framework for ethical and inclusive AI in Nigeria. So if you'd like to be a part of that session, please remember